Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Big Q. I am Isabel Masozera. Now, if I can ask you a question, how much do you know about capital markets, the stock exchange? Does that sound Chinese to you? Is that something you might want to learn a little bit more about? Well, this is the show for you. Now, a lot has been happening in the industry, especially here in Rwanda. But one of the things that has been talked about and is the focus right now is how can SMEs be onboarded. So we'll be talking a little bit about that later on. But first, we're going to unpack these strange terms and how they can benefit you. I'm not the expert, so I am joined by one. He is the CEO of Rwanda Stock Exchange, Mr. Celestine Rabukumba. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Celestine, like I said earlier, these words, they sound interesting. They sound like they can make Rwanda and Isabel rich. But what is it? What is it that you do?
In a nutshell, I would say wealth creation. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's what the markets do and the stock markets in general. But what we do exactly in detail, the stock market, first of all, or the capital market for that matter, is a market for capital, long-term capital. It's a market that is created in different countries to make sure that they serve the existing economy or the surrounding economies. So it's a marketplace where securities, what we call bonds or shares or any other products are sold. So it's about a place where money exchanges against hands, actually. On one hand, we have the entrepreneurs or project promoters who are looking for long-term capital to invest in their businesses. Most often we confuse entrepreneurs with investors. They are actually two separate things. You could be the entrepreneur, you have an idea, yeah, meaning that you want to create an enterprise and you want to raise capital for that. And the first capital maybe is yours. Yeah, at the same time you are an entrepreneur, but you're also the investor.
Okay.
You understand? So those are two different concepts actually. So the capital market brings together entrepreneurs and their business ideas and it links them to the capital, long-term capital they are looking for. So the long-term capital comes in from investors, you and me, institutional investors, the banks, insurance companies.
Yes.
You could even have actually, there are some other institutional investors. If we talk about Rwanda, you know, the biggest elephant in the room is RSSB.
Yes.
So that's the pension fund of the country. Yeah, the main one. Nowadays, we even have private pension funds, which have started now also providing long-term capital through the stock market to match those two. So one side, we call it the supply side. You are supplying products. You know, the supply side means the entrepreneurs who have ideas but they have no money.
Yes.
And on the other side, you have the investors who have money, but they don't have ideas. That's actually how it starts. So the stock market basically comes in the middle, or the capital market, to link the two.
To link these two.
So, but there is a third component. So they can only be brought together with the confidence and the trust.
Yes.
You understand? So that intermediation, that's where the stock exchange comes in, that's where the capital market authority comes in, and the entire team or ecosystem that makes that happen. So the stock market basically is a market for all those players. So people who are looking for money for long term, they get it from investors across. People are used to the banking system.
Yes.
Whereby if you want money, I'm going to my bank and I give them my project, business plan, and that's it. You get the money. But the stock market, it goes further than that. So the money, you get it directly from the investors themselves.
Okay.
You understand? So normally what the bank does, they collect monies from different people, deposits or their own capital. And if someone is looking for money, you go provide your business plan and they give you the funds you are looking for.
Yes.
So now that this whole thing of the stock market, you are getting actually the money directly from the investors themselves.
Which is really good because
for long term.
It is very good not just for the investor, also for example, the business or the entrepreneur looking for the money, but also for the economy. But before we get into the science and the logic of all of that, I know that the industry here in Rwanda is quite young compared to what has been happening within the region just since 2011. And how are we doing? How have we grown so far? And how are we catching up compared to some of the giants in the region, like, for example, Kenya, that has 64 years ahead of us? How are we doing?
Well, I think, we are doing fairly okay. I wouldn't say I'm very happy 100%. We could be doing better than that. So if you want to compare yourself, you don't compare yourself to other midgets like yourself. Okay. You understand? So if you want to look at tall people, you don't look at the guys who are almost like you. You see how tall I am, right? So I could look for some young kids and I say I'm tall. But you see, if you want to look at far, you look at the tallest people. And so the analogy I'm trying to use is that one of saying, yes, regionally, Africa-wise, yeah, we are okay compared to our counterparts.
Yes.
But we would like to be and move faster and better and go farther. But in general, the other markets, of course, in the region have come before us. If we talk about Nairobi Stock Exchange, the Securities Exchange, it's like almost now 70 years old. You go next door to Kampala, Tanzania, they are more than 30 years old.
Yes.
Here in Rwanda, the capital market industry started around 2008 for the creation of the industry, putting in place the frameworks and so on. Us as a stock exchange, on our side, the stock exchange itself, Rwanda Stock Exchange, started the full operations properly in 2011.
Yes.
So going by the metrics we go by, we normally look at how many products do you bring a year, how far, how much money have you been able to raise, how many people, the uptake from people and so on. And then other indices, how are your indices doing? I mean, you've seen maybe probably in the past few weeks, months actually, we came out number 2 in the region in terms of performance this year. I'm not talking about the whole time, but this year. So that means that we are comparable now to our counterparts. Yes. But again, like I said, we can't tap ourselves in the chest and that we have gotten there. We have not. We have been actually among the 6 top performers exchanges on the continent this year. That we are talking about Nigeria, we are talking about countries like Johannesburg and so on. In the region, it's only Tanzania which came ahead of us this year. So that means, that we are taking ground, but we have a lot more to do as a stock market to serve our economy. Yes.
Yeah, but what has been the strategy? Because earlier when I was introducing the show, I did talk about the fact that you are trying to onboard SMEs. What would you credit, for example, the results this year putting you at such a high level of success?
Well, we're talking about performance, but yet the SMEs have not really, we have not onboarded them yet 100%. We are just now trying to introduce the idea to them. We are hand-holding them. We talk about the clinic as we said earlier, but apart from that, the companies we have which are on the market and the bonds we have on the market, which is the debt market, whereby the government also uses the market to raise long-term finance, and private people, some other private sector companies do the same. We have creme de la creme, if you may say, in our market. Today we have about 10 companies which have been performing quite well.
Wow. So
if despite COVID, for example, the banking sector has been performing quite well in terms of profitability and lending to the public and so on. And we have telcos, we have cement, we have brewery. So those are the main companies. If you're talking about Bralirwa, Simerwa, MTN, Bank of Kigali, you talk I&M Bank, you talk KCB, Equity Bank, and all those companies, National Media. So they are creme de la creme.
Yes, they are. But if I could interrupt,
you understand? Yeah.
Local versus cross-listing, where are you having the bigger number of customers currently?
I must say that cross-listings really, they don't come for raising money most of the time. It's more or less about publicity or getting more investors in the market, but it's more of that really. But if you have a proper IPO, which is a natural public offer, where you get people to buy into the shares actually from the onset, that's where you get more activity. So the local counters, I would say the 5 companies we have from Rwanda, they are the most active. You are talking about Bank of Kigali, it's the biggest bank. Bralirwa, our biggest brewery. Simerwa, our biggest cement companies. All those companies I just mentioned, none of them is below 50 years old.
Nice.
Those are companies which are mature, performing well, and despite the COVID situation we've had, they've actually been doing quite well in terms of performance themselves. And remember, the stock markets are a mirror of what is going on in the economy itself.
Yes, yes,
so,
yes.
you know, it's not just merely the papers you are selling and buying. I said earlier, you know, are buying shares and bonds, but those bonds you are buying, they are representing something. They are representing the underlying business. So if you buy a Bradirwa, you are buying the business itself and what they sell. Then you are holding ownership in that thing. Or if you buy a bond of the government or private company, you also have private companies which issue bonds. It's a debt you are lending to that company. So if they pay you, you get to make money,
Yes.
and so on. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we are all about. That's the performance has come from there. If you saw how Rwanda has been able to manage the COVID pandemic, that would explain a lot in what and how we've been recovering as a country. Unfortunately, now we have Ukraine,
Yes.
war, and so many other things that are affecting world economies, and the inflation which is ravaging the whole world, and without sparing us. You know, that of course will be putting a pinch into the economy. Therefore, also probably it will translate into the stock market also. But we have not seen that much of that, except some prices that on debt instruments we are seeing some signs of a bit of, you know, increments in the prices.
Yes.
But otherwise, that's where the performance has come from. And now going back to the SMEs, it's a project we've had for some time. Because if you remember, our economy is dominated by SMEs.
Yes.
You know, more than 90% really in Rwanda. Actually, for that matter, the continent. You know, most countries are dominated by SMEs. That's the African business we have today. With a few parastatals or a few big conglomerates which come into the international companies that come into our economies. But the bulk of our businesses, they are in SME or even micro SMEs.
Yes.
It's not even real SME, if you may ask, or startups. So if we are in the business of raising, like I said in the beginning, the stock market is all about raising money for the economy,
Yes.
providing an avenue for people to save. Those are the investors, you know, in a trusted way, a place, and promoting good corporate governance. Those are the three things why actually the markets are created. Okay, so that trust I was talking about earlier, it comes following good structures, trusted structures that are brought by good governance and
Yes.
accountability. Simple as that. Of course, profitability.
Yes.
Everyone who invests their money, they want it back.
Of course.
And with an interest somehow. So, so in trying to address that, in the beginning when the market was created, we were addressing, or we were trying to work with big credible companies. But eventually in 2018, we started also looking at the smaller medium enterprises so that we can address also the bulk actually of our economy.
Yes.
Because now when you have the structures in place and you are growing organically, you realize that you must you take a notch higher.
Yes.
You know, in this case, it's a notch lower. You know, we reward the requirements because
yes.
if you want to have the same
and that was going to be my question,
yeah.
the requirements, because that's quite tricky. You're dealing with
Yeah.
small businesses that may not have all that is requested
Yeah.
of them to reveal.
Definitely. You know, the markets, because they are transparent, remember it's other people's money you are using in the stock market. So you must be careful. You know, that money has to be managed and looked after very carefully and in a transparent manner. You know, when you are starting business, your main issue is not about governance. Your main issue is not about transparency or accountability. Your main issue is to make sure that your container gets to Mombasa.
Yes.
So all you can do to get your money, you can, if some people go to Credit Rambe, some of them loan sharks, you know, for that. And that's not a viable situation, you know that.
not.
Even as much as we're talking about our banking sector here, 17, 19% interest rate is not a viable situation in most cases. You know, if you're borrowing 80% of your business, you are borrowing at 19%. Definitely, that's why you see a lot of Kyamunara.
Yes.
You know, you are seeing a lot of auctioning from banks and so on. So
Correct,
now,
yes.
but you know, there is a way to use other people's money. There's a way of doing that, but you must apply the conditions. The conditions are very simple in the stock market. Whether you are big or small or large, I don't know what's to use. Whoever you are, there are three things.
Okay.
The first one is good corporate governance and accountability. Then the third one is profitability. So if you are profitable everyone is looking at you, okay, can we do some business?
Something together, yes.
Okay, but the whole thing must be brought by what the confidence I was mentioning earlier. The confidence can only come if people know that you are well governed or managed if you are a business. Look at Rwanda itself. I mean, today's Rwanda is nowhere compared to 94 because of that kind of governance.
Yes.
So people will not trust to put money in a place where they know tomorrow there is going to be a coup. No way. So in the company, the same thing. So they look at those kinds of parameters.
Yes.
So whether you are big or small. So now for the bigger companies, of course, the requirements are higher.
Yes.
We have three main market segments. The first one is the main market segment, which is comprised of the likes of Bank of Kigali or Equity Bank, those big companies.
Heavyweights, yes.
Yeah, but now we have created an SME market segment where the requirements are lower, but it doesn't mean that we are just going to be laissez-faire. No. It means basically what we are doing, we've done is to lower the requirements in terms of what we ask them. But they compromise on good governance, accountability, okay, that means financial management, and profitability, we don't compromise
that is
anywhere.
Not compromise.
Yes, yes, exactly. So even if you look at the prospectus, those papers they put in a paper, they put in advertisement when we want to do like a government bonds. Even a government bond, they said we are going to use this money for this. You know, it's not just coming, we are going to issue a bond. They say for infrastructure, capital market development, and so on and so forth. Some countries, you even have infrastructure bonds. You have municipal bonds to support the local government also. A part, you know, which is not part of the central government necessarily, you see. So that you have to be transparent because investors must know what you are going to use their money for.
They need to feel that their money is secure.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, I know there's so much I want to talk about, and we quickly need to get to the investment clinic. But let's talk about some of the bonds that have been issued and reissued over the years. How has that been in terms of the reaction, the appetite, both locally but also from the region?
Yeah, you know, we've had a lot of appetite in the beginning. When you have an IPO, you have people from all over the place, in Rwanda, internationally, regionally, so we have a lot of people. But still, our market actually has not been saturated yet. You know, the local demand actually can satisfy almost everything so far. Because we don't have a lot of instruments yet, we are still, you know, struggling to get more to come. But one thing I can tell you is that the subscription has been always oversubscription in everything that has come to the market.
That is
there's more demand
problem.
than you know, there's more demand than what is available. Yes. So the bonds have been performing quite well. As you know, bonds are very stable. You know, all the
it's
income
almost 100% secure. Is that a myth? Or is there any
it's not almost, it's 100% secure. It's because it is
say that again slower, so yeah. the viewers can actually hear that.
What happens for a bond, it's a trust you are giving to whoever you're going to lend money to. In this case, we are talking about the government of Rwanda, for example. We are talking about I&M Bank. They have done a bond to support their mortgage industry when we launched the market in 2008. And we had a small company recently from the clinic we are talking about, which has issued a bond last year, 10-year bond. So that means they borrowed money for 10 years and they have a very good interest rate they are paying for investors, but it's cheaper still yet, you know, than borrowing from the banks.
Yes.
You know, so 13.7% for 10-year money is not really that expensive for a small company which is not known.
It is good.
You understand? So it has been doing quite okay. We have more and more uptake from the retail
investors. Would you say that it is a good space to start? Because a lot of people want to get into this kind of world, but security. So to hear that there's a way I can actually buy bonds and I know I'm 100%, like you said, secure, that's quite something.
Yes, it's, I mean, the trust of government. So if government borrows money, it does not matter which leadership is there. You know, the following leadership or the following whatever, it will come again and pay the debts you have taken because the trust and the confidence the country has given. So in any country, actually, they are rated even AAA. So that means it's the highest, the most secured kind of instrument you can buy in any country. You understand? It's a debt that you know for sure. If we don't have money, we'll sell more Kigali maybe. You understand? So that Rwanda can pay their debt. But of course, it will not get to that because the economy is quite well managed. So because it requires discipline and so on. So you are putting the full trust in the government of Rwanda, in the country of Rwanda. whatever happens when you buy a bond of government of Rwanda. If it's Bralirwa that comes to the market, definitely you are trusting management and staff of Bralirwa to make more money so that they can pay you back. But if you buy shares, you are buying forever.
Okay.
Shares, you are an owner of the company. So, yeah, I think that's it's a good entry point. It's a good entry point.
Yes.
But once you get to that, you get proper advisory services from our members, ourselves, so we have many stock brokers, we have the banks, financial advisors, people. Now the industry has grown actually.
Yes.
We have a lot of services you can get for advisory if you want to invest. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant. Let's talk about the interest of the entire conversation, and that is the Rwanda Capital Markets Investment Clinic. I know we've unpacked a little bit here and there during the conversation, but what is it? Why do you think SMEs should be running to be part of this?
The investment clinic. The investment clinic, really the whole idea has emanated from what we were saying earlier. We've been serving the creme de la creme. But you see, the bulk of business and employment comes from small and medium enterprises.
Absolutely.
You understand? But we know they have different problems. We've done a lot of research. People have done research across the board. You see a lot of institutions, NGOs, you name it, saying we are here to help SMEs. If it's not SMEs, it's women associations or the youth, all that stuff. But at the end, you realize that it's not even a question of money.
Yeah.
If you ask me what kind of money are you looking for, the money is there.
Yeah.
You talk to banks today, they are fully loaded with cash. However, who do they lend to? So some requirements apply.
Yeah.
You understand? But for SMEs, everyone say access to finance is a big problem. And we realize that throughout the years, that if we want to support them, those three conditions still apply. Good corporate governance, accountability, profitability. If there is no profitability, we can look at case by case. Sometimes it depends on how you have borrowed or how you have been running your business. If you get some proper advice and so on, and you clean your company, then you can access money you are looking for
easily,
and easily, and you can be you can pay back, or you can do well for your shareholders. So now what we've realized, once we introduced the small and medium enterprise market segment, that's MEMS, that's how we call it, in 2018. We were faced by a serious challenge. Those issues will always remain. It was not about money. So mainly, what we realize that sometimes companies have issues around the money, but what they give priority is not really necessarily what can get you to get that money. Because remember, it's other people's money. So other people's money is looking for an interest, is looking for security. So investors, lenders out there, they are looking for security and getting back their money. So in doing that, that's how we came up with the investment clinic project, because we do believe that everyone needs a health check.
That's true.
Even if you look at Usain Bolt, the first thing he does before they go to the pitch, or the Ronaldos, they have to get if their port is fine, right? You saw people dying on the pitch, but yet they were seeming okay. But so now that's what we're doing. So we working, of course, with the Capital Market Authority, Ministry of Finance, PSF, RDB, and Minicom. Those are all the institutions which are trying to support SMEs one way or another. They're in charge of the economy of the country, basically, obviously.
Yes.
So we formed a working group to look into this, and we created a project to clean those companies. Basically, what we do in the clinic, we look at you, people apply. We do a call for application, or we just knock on the doors of people we think they have potential, but that can make them do better.
So you knock on their doors, but can they reach out to you?
Yeah,
should they feel interested? And how can they do that?
They do. The project we started around COVID time.
Yes. When
we started the project, COVID hit. So the biggest affected people were SMEs again.
Yes.
So, but we managed to get, at least despite that, about 45 companies.
Okay.
We had to go through a scrutiny. We really have to look at them properly and analyze and diagnose. Then we hand them over to our ecosystem. Our ecosystem is comprised of advisory services.
Yes.
That is legal due diligence, accounts, we have to look at your accounts.
books
If
and
they are
everything is
okay,
okay.
or if you have been doing them. If you have not been doing them, okay, we advise you how to do them better. We
Yes.
help you, handhold you.
Okay.
You know, and then third, financial advisory. So the team
So
of three.
legal, accounts, and financial advisory.
Exactly.
Okay.
All with the whole goal or aim or objective to getting you to become a good corporate citizen, to be investor ready. You understand? So sometimes people don't have board of directors. And you know that every time you create a company, even in your own house, people have different tasks. So the whole task is not under one person. Maybe someone goes for the cleaning, the other person provides the money, the others, you know, so that your own household is taken care of properly. Division of task and labor.
Yes.
It starts from your home, goes into your business, even the whole country. So that's the whole 9 yards. So we try to hold their hand so that they can get to where any investor is
ready
looking,
to
is ready to
money.
put something. So when you put a stamp of proof to you that saying that by day you have gotten past the scrutiny, diagnosis, advisory, and then we propose an improvement plan to make sure that you have a proper pitch book.
Okay,
That's
so
what
it's not just a seal saying this one is fundable. You also help them prepare how to actually pitch for the funding.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Our time is fast spent,
So-
sadly, Celestine. You have to come back so we
We'll
can
come
talk
back at
some
one
more.
time.
We still have more questions, but in the remaining minutes, I really want you to hone in on the question of why Rwandans should be running really quickly. And if you could send a message, I know we have a camera for you right over there, to any business CEO or owner or entrepreneur, what would you say to them concerning this clinic?
I would say that the clinic has been a good experience. We've just finished the first cohort. The first cohort has had one company. There's about 12 companies. One has already raised money, 10-year money, using a corporate bond. And we have a few more who are working on their paperwork to come and raise more money. And we have now started onboarding new companies for the second cohort. So there will be many more coming on board. It's not a question of money. It's a question of how and the will from the companies to be handheld, and we are there to serve. And the market is for all of us. And the investors they are only waiting to see good investment opportunities into these companies.
All right. Celestine, thank you so much for making the time to speak to us. And for you who is tuning in right now, this is a call that goes out to you, not only to better your business or to be able to be fundable. You can also join and fund. Like you had earlier, you can be an investor or you can be the person that can be invested in. But one thing is for sure, this is good for us. If we join together as a collective, it can definitely have an impact on Rwanda's economy. Isabel Masozera, thanks for watching.